So good morning. Today is May 3rd, 9:20 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you were in the market yesterday, wow, what a wild ride. Just to kind of go back and look at what happened. Trading SPY, you could have traded SPY both up and down. This was this was yesterday. So top here, down here, back up here. And in this last hour really was where you would have made the money, because it didn't take long for this move. This was just sort of a drift downward. And then, of course, when it hit this bottom here, it just shot to the top. So it was a good trading day yesterday, both directions. Obviously, the key is being correct in your selections. So looking at today, there are a number of folks that are reporting earnings this morning: Pfizer, BP, Marathon, Hilton, Estée Lauder, Biogen. And based on what I saw, I came up with a list of stocks to consider, both to the upside and downside. Right now, it looks like the market is going to open and maybe decline slightly, shake some people out who might be buying on the open. They buy on the open, the market declines, they get out, and then the market reverses, and then they chase it to the top. So we're just going to wait. And the VIX is at a key juncture here, and it looks like it's going to continue falling. But this 31.55 is where the 8-year trailing stop is on 1 hour, and then 31.42 is where the 5-day EMA is. So if it falls through and closes below today, closes is key, below the 5-day EMA today, then the VIX is likely to continue to decline until it finds some support. If this holds, which is what I am expecting, if this holds, so the VIX could fall below, and then by the end of the day, move back up, and then tomorrow with, of course, the Fed meeting, be off the charts here to the upside. So what's really interesting, the last time the Fed met and Chairman Powell came on in the afternoon, if you were trading during the last hour and a half, the market just went up and down rapidly. It was crazy to watch, because the swings were so wide and so fast. You could jump in to the downside and make a lot of money, and then 10 minutes later, jump into the upside, make a lot of money, and then it swing back to the downside and back to the upside. So the volatility was just, it would give you whiplash. And sort of expecting that tomorrow for sure as well. If that happens, then the VIX is just going to climb here. So again, looking at the VIX falling today, not maybe a whole lot, but certainly falling below this 5-day EMA, which will signal a move to the upside for stocks. And then maybe by the afternoon, it may come back and find support above this 5-day EMA, or it may close just below, and then tomorrow climb and find support. So we're looking at trading to the upside today to get started, and have chosen from the list that we created Apple, Disney, NEO, OXY, Occidental Petroleum. And right now thinking Occidental Petroleum on the open, because of the fact that you've got, again, BP, Marathon reporting. Devon reported yesterday, and Devon is already much higher. So it closed at 58.35. It's currently at 60.66. And if you look at the Occidental Petroleum move here, I mean, this was a huge move. So this is a bullish engulfing candle, bullish engulfing candle. And that's significant when you think about bullish engulfing. It's a clear signal. And I'm going to see if I can't find this quickly in our encyclopedia. So it would be engulfing and engulfing top. Let's see, engulfing top on page 479 and see if in fact that is the correct one. Page 479. And let's see what it says. Engulfing top, theoretical. Now this is actually, it says here, theoretical, bearish reversal. Bullish continuation 68% of the time in a bull market, and in a bear market, it's bullish continuation 67% of the time. So this should give us some indication that based on this bullish engulfing candle, that the stock price for OXY is going to move up. So we would definitely be trading this to the upside. Looking at Apple, Apple is correlated to SPY. So given the fact that the VIX and the SPY move in opposite directions, we're looking at trading Apple to the upside. And Disney, because it's bouncing off of a key area of support here, and as this is at 111.53, the 5-day EMA is at 114.85, and we have an ATR trailing stop at 113.99. So let's see what's happening with Disney. It has this resistance that's going to face here, and we want to see if it's going to break that resistance. As we can see, it's having a little bit of trouble. NEO is the other one. NEO on the 5-minute chart looks like it's going to be bearish on the open. So on the daily chart, what I like about it is it's above the 5-day EMA. So this is support at 17.13. And then you've got support here, this ATR trailing stop, and of course the previous low. So we're not going to do anything on the open. We're going to wait because, again, I'm thinking the market could open and decline and then move up. So we're going to give it a little bit of time to make some decisions on what it wants to do. And then we're going to base our decisions on the opening high and opening low. So any questions before we start? We have a couple of minutes. And as we can see, here's Apple again. Let's take a look at the VIX. So the VIX is climbing. There is this resistance on the 5-minute. What about the 30-minute? It's going to be here at 33.84. And on the 1 hour, it's all the way up here on the weekly. So there's not a lot of resistance for the VIX to the upside. And if we are wrong in our choice, then we would need to trade to the downside, and we can trade the same stocks to the downside as well. But I do have another list for downside opportunities, and those are contained in my Tuesday list here. ADM would be one of those. Also, let's see here, ADM, SVN, and UPS. So this is interesting, SVN, looking at this candle here. It looks like it's a top of a move. So let's go ahead and go to our list. And we're going to look and see what's happening with Apple. All right, looks like Apple is bouncing off of support here. Disney. Looks like it's bouncing off of support. Neo. All right, so the market's performing the way we thought. OXY looks like it might be a good candidate for an upside move, but we're going to wait. So the VIX looked like it gapped open just a little bit. All right, so strong moves are to the downside on the open. Maybe we have an opening high here. We'll see if that's the case. So OXY would have been not a bad move on the open. Let's take a look at OXY. $7,100 contracts currently with a $60 call. All right, the VIX is again elevated. The VIX is about to hit resistance. Very volatile. I'm going to mark this high here for OXY. My choices are Apple, Neo, and OXY in terms of trying to get a trade in, but we'll see if those are good choices or not. Neo is going to be holding on the opening high. All right, the VIX is falling as we expected when it hit this resistance. All right, so I'm going to look at an Apple trade based on the VIX behavior. And I'm going to buy, this is 30,000 contracts here. All right, so I'm in an Apple trade to the upside. And I made that decision based on what I saw on the VIX. When the VIX hit this resistance here and then started to decline, then I expected that Apple would begin to move to the upside. So let's kind of keep an eye here. And the aim was to trade to the upside today. So Apple is the choice. We're just going to keep an eye on this again, not over trading. So we don't want to be in multiple positions. I'm going to move this down a little bit because we don't have an opening low yet. We got plenty of volatility. Let's kind of take a look at the SPY. So the SPY is moving up and Apple's moving down. That's an anomaly. And the VIX is moving down. So I'm not really sure what's happening with Apple and our Apple trade. So it's going against us, but let's see if we can find some support here on Apple. That's really low. All right, so what's going to be an algorithmic support level here? This is going to be support. All right, so it looks like we're going to get our turn. The VIX is climbing. Looks like Apple may have hit a bottom here, but what we
Richard,
want to do. Yes, Dave.
Which option did you buy on Apple?
I bought the 165 call expiring May 6 for Apple, the $165 call.
Okay, thank you.
So we got in a bit early. Looks like the VIX is going to climb again. So we're going to mark this as an opening low for the VIX. We want Apple to get above this algorithmic support level here, 157.37. And I'm going to mark the SPY also, opening high and opening low. Okay, so we've done that. All right, so look at Disney. Disney is bouncing off of that bottom. Neo. Both of those were good. OXY, I believe a good trade as well. All right, so Apple is not performing. So I'm going to give this a little bit more time because I'm looking at a support level on Apple here. This 8-year trailing stop at 155.69. And our options premium, we didn't pay a lot, 155.69. ATR trailing stop. This is on the 30-minute. And again, I think this, and we talked about this earlier, I think this is, they're trying to shake people out of this move to the upside, which I believe will happen today. And this is the wrong color. Make sure I know what I'm looking at. So I use the color of the dots for the 8-year trailing stop so that I can recognize them quite easily when I see these dotted lines on my screen. All right, so we have an 8-year trailing stop support there. So going back to our Apple. It's opening low. This is going to be most likely our opening high. Looking at the VIX. The VIX again hit that resistance and it's declining. Let's look at the VIX on a 30-minute chart. All right, so it looks like there's considerable resistance for the VIX. So that's what we're counting on. But if in fact the VIX breaks this level here, we may have to consider our strategy. So we're just going to watch Apple and see what happens. Again, we're not going to add to our trade. We're not going to average down. We're not going to do any of that stuff. But if Apple somehow breaks the opening low and starts moving to the downside, then we will look to exit. Looking at SPY. It's still early. All right, so we have an opening high and opening low on Apple. And again, we need Apple to be above this 157.37 to be comfortable, or to feel comfortable about our trade. So right now, my Apple trade is down about 2%.
Richard, I'm up 20%.
on your Apple.
Yeah, May 6, 120, 165 call.
Yeah, it depends on when you bought in. I bought in early, so I
Okay.
paid 48. I paid 48 cents for my options.
Yeah, I'm at 47 and a half. I bought them at 36.
Yeah, so that's why. You bought after I did, so you bought what I should have bought if I had waited for this move up.
Hindsight.
Yeah, but I'm confident in the move to the upside, so I'm not too concerned about that. I bought in a little early, but it could have gone either way. So we're just going to kind of keep an eye on this here, and what I'm seeing on the VIX is a hanging man, and we still have quite a bit of time before this closes. But again, we're looking at this resistance holding on the VIX. All right, so Apple is making its move, and looking at the SPY. All right, SPY trade is good. So that OXY trade is a good trade. And this one should run today. And NEO also, well, NEO kind of came back, it gave back its gains. We've got an HR trailing stop at 1734 that's providing some resistance for NEO. So I'm really tempted to buy OXY calls, but I'm not, because again, I'm trading on a small account, so I'm going to manage my risk, and I'm not going to overtrade, and I can't watch multiple trades at once. Well, I can, but if the market turns against me, getting out of them would be difficult, because by the time you get out of one, you've lost a considerable amount on the other. So looking at the VIX, it's trading in a range, and it's going to break out one way or the other. We're expecting to break out to the downside. And if it does, then we're good on this trade. If it breaks out to the upside, then we're going to exit and then consider puts. So looking at Apple on a daily chart, this is what we're seeing. So it hit the 200-day EMA, and it was rejected at the 200-day EMA. So this algorithmic support level at 157.37 is key. You've got additional resistance at the 5-day EMA at 158.63. But the one thing I like about Apple is the increasing volume. So just go out a little bit more time. You can see the increasing volume here, and let's just take a quick look at the RSI. The RSI looks kind of neutral, so it's not oversold nor overbought. Trying to make this larger. It doesn't appear to be oversold or overbought. So again, still hanging with the Apple trade. So based on the 5-minute chart, Apple is overbought. I'm sorry, oversold. So we've got this blue indicator here indicating that Apple is oversold. So we would expect then that it's going to reverse and move to the upside based on that. But that's There are no guarantees. So one thing about that, past performance is no guarantee of future results. That's an important fact to remember. And we trade what we see. And right now, looking at the VIX, which is climbing, and it just broke through to the upside. I think that's temporary because Apple is also moving up, so that doesn't make sense. So this is an anomaly. So I'm watching the VIX on another screen. I'm watching Apple. This is what we expected, that there would be this initial move to the downside, shaking people out of their calls. And then, of course, the market would then move to the upside. So we're going to watch and see how Apple handles this opening low. Let's take a look at Disney now, has given back its gains. NEO is negative. OXY is topping out. The SPY is negative. The VIX again getting rejected here at this 8-year trailing stop and its 50-day EMA. We have just a little bit over 2 minutes for this candle to close. We're looking at a 5-minute chart on Apple. Key resistance now is going to be this 5-day EMA, not the algorithmic support resistance level. So we want to see Apple get above the 5-day EMA and find some support. If it does, then it will start to move to the upside. All right, so it looked like based on what I'm seeing here on the VIX, looks like the market is about to make its reversal. And what we see here too with Apple, you've got a spinning top, which signals reversal. You have an inverted hammer at the bottom of the move, which signals reversal. And then you have this green candle here. So this looks like it's going to be a spinning top because it's going to close in about a minute. And we're now expecting Apple to start to move to the upside or to reverse. It doesn't mean it's going to be right away, but we're certainly looking at a reversal. And then the question becomes when. And when it gets safely above the 5-day EMA, at that point, we know that Apple is going to find some support and move to the upside. And then the next level of resistance is going to be up here at the 158.15 or the 158.25. Now, given what I paid for these calls, once Apple climbs above the opening high and breaks this level of resistance at 158.25, then I would add to my call position. So the VIX gives a strange candle here. This is an inverted hammer just at the bottom of a move. So that's positive for the VIX. So we still could be in trouble here. So we just keep an eye on what's going on. All right, so good. Now we need Apple to find support above these levels. Again, we're expecting a reversal. So if I was not already in an Apple trade, this is where I would be looking to buy Apple to the upside. Watching these candles and watching this move. And I would be comfortable buying anywhere in this area, given what I'm seeing on the candles. I wouldn't necessarily have to wait until it's above the 5-day EMA, but that would be the conservative position to take, is once Apple crosses above the 5-day EMA and above this algorithmic support resistance level, then to buy to the upside. But I would take a little bit more risk, seeing again the spinning top, this inverted hammer, the spinning top, which tells me that a reversal is coming. I will be looking to buy here on these green candles for Apple. And let's look at the VIX. All right, so good. The VIX is declining. There's still considerable resistance because the 5-day EMA is really strong resistance, and it's also at the same level here. But it looks like we're going to break through. Not a lot of volume yet. We'd like to see some volume come in here. And it looks like there could be good volume because this candle still has another 2.5 minutes before it closes. Let's make the volume bars a little larger. It is above average volume. So the gold line here is average volume. So we're above average volume, but we want to see strong volume come in to move to the upside to signal that this is going to really take off. Currently, it's just a lot of volatility and a struggle between the bulls and bears in terms of what Apple is going to do, but we're fairly confident that Apple's going to move to the upside. All right, so we're seeing some promise as we break through now this algorithmic resistance, and we're above the 5-day EMA. We have about 1 minute and 30 seconds before this candle closes. The VIX is still troublesome as it is above support. So we're keeping our eye on that on another screen. Volume appears to be about the same as before. Right now we've got 1,181,000 shares traded. Previous candle was 1,297,000. So volume is about the same. So no real indication here of whether there's strength in this move. My trade is finally positive, so I'm up 2%. All right, so we're going to close here in about 2 seconds on this candle. There we go. All right, so now we are above support. We're above the 5-day EMA. We're above this algorithmic support resistance. So the next area where we think that we're going to have trouble is up here at the opening high and this ATR trailing stop. So we do have the 20 and the 50 EMAs or exponential moving averages here, and we have the 200, so that could be a bit of a challenge. But we like the fact that we have support here on the 5-day and on this algorithmic support line. So we do think that this support's going to hold. And what you're seeing is simply the volatility that most people talk about. I mean, this is what you get, in particular in the first few minutes. So let's take a look at some of the other trades and see where they are. So Disney is through its opening low, but it's bouncing off of the 200-day EMA. Neo is back. Neo looks strong to the upside. OXY still looking good. SPY, and let's see what Apple's doing. All right, so Apple's giving us a signal that we're going to be okay. Trades up 5%. And again, what I mentioned earlier, once Apple breaks through this opening high and closes above the opening high, then I'm going to look to add to my position. I buy another contract. So I'm not averaging down, I'm averaging up. All right, so based on the 30-minute chart, what I'm seeing here on Apple, we're going to get a, looks like a hammer here. So this is a down move. So this looks like a hammer. So that's going to be bullish. And we're going to target 160.18 as our exit today. So looking at the daily chart for Apple, 160.18 target. Apple moves $5 a day, so that should be easy and within reach. So the reality is, if we take a look at Apple, and it's, let's say the low for Apple today was 156.32, 156.32 plus 508. That gives us a target of 161.40 for Apple today. If it makes its full move, 161.40, we're looking at 160. So just being a bit conservative. But if it gets to this ATR trailing stop, for example, on the 30-minute, if it gets here and breaks it, then we would stay in for the full move because we'll look for this now to become support. All right, so we're getting our move on the upside for Apple. Oops, sorry about the screen. Zoom out a little bit. Still don't have the volume that I would like to see, but I'm satisfied with the direction. Now up 14% on my Apple trade. And let's see what the VIX is doing. The VIX is falling. So the next level of support for the VIX, it fell through the HR trailing stop on the 1 hour. So if it closes there, oh, look like it has. So this is no longer support. So we got the 5-day coming down across the 50 on the VIX. Oh, look at that drop. All right, so let's go back and see what we're doing with Apple. All right, so it looks like it's time to make another purchase. But we're going to wait for this candle to close here on Apple. Make sure that support level holds. We want to break this ATR trailing stop resistance.
Richard, factory orders just came out up 2.2%. They're estimating 1%.
So that has some economic implications, right?
Yeah, that would be bullish. Short term.
Okay. All right. So we don't have the volume yet, but it looks like we're going to break this. We still have a few minutes left on this trade. So we are above here. I'm going to go ahead and add to my position. I'm fairly confident about this move. So just going to buy another call. All right, so now I'm in Apple with 2 calls at the 165 strike. My average price is now 53 cents, and I'm currently up about 9%. So I've invested so far today of my $630. Actually, I had 621, I think 621 and change when I started. I've invested $112. So that's about 20%, which is really where we want to be. No more than 20% at any given time. Ideally, we will stay in Apple, and Apple will gain a total of 30–40% for us today. That will give us 10% for our total account gain, and we could be done. We don't have to be done, but there's no reason to overtrade. Obviously, if there are opportunities that we see in the market as the day goes on, then we can take some strategic moves, but there's no reason to buy just to be buying. And we want to make sure that we choose correctly. The other alternative is if in fact we think that Apple might continue its move tomorrow to the upside on the open, if we have a sufficient gain, then what we could do is we could swing one of our contracts. So we have 2, we'd sell one, take the profit, and then based on that, based on where we are, then we would actually be able to swing Apple tomorrow. But in order to do that, I would need to see Apple find itself comfortably above the 5-day EMA, which is at 159 currently, 159.11. So if Apple is able to do that, then that would give me some comfort that I could swing Apple to tomorrow, but I would not swing both contracts. I'd simply sell one and swing one. But as an intraday trader, and we talked about this a bit yesterday, that's an element of risk. So depending upon what happens today and how much the gain is today, then we could consider what to do with Apple. So I do like the fact that now we've got some growing volume here. So we still have, well, it's not that much. So we still have 15 seconds left. But the volume is higher a little bit. Now, when we start to see weakness in Apple, we may just take our exit and our profit. But I am really bullish on the market today. Let's take a different view or get a different view. So we're going to go to the volume profile. We're going to take a look at Apple. All right, so Apple is above the high value area, which is good, which is what we want to see. And if we were trading using this, we would have seen this reversal here also using the volume profile, because this is the low value area. This is the point of control where most of the volume has occurred. So what's interesting is this point of control where most of the volume has occurred today is also in alignment with this algorithmic support resistance level at 157.37. So this is really strong support. This is a VWAP, the average volume, average weighted price. And that is currently at 157.48. And we're above the 5-day EMA. So we have really good support, and we're comfortable in this trade, which now is negative for me because I added to my position. So I'm actually down on the trade, even though it is higher than where it was when I initially bought in. But it's okay, I'm comfortable with that. I'm expecting some give back, which is okay. And it would have been a good move to buy once Apple made its move above here and then came back and found support and then started to move up again. But I had expected that it would find support here on this opening high, which it still could, but so far it's looking like it will close below. But we still have 2 minutes left. So we've got a climbing VIX, expecting the VIX to get rejected here at 31.39. So we talked about the VIX on the daily. And this is a key support level here. So we see the VIX fell here, and of course it went back and it found support on the 5-day EMA. So I think that's going to be the result today, but we'll just have to wait and see. So let's go back to our Apple trade. We're still good. We are above the VWAP. We're above the point of control. We're above this algorithmic support level. So not too concerned. Looking at the VIX as it approaches the 5-day EMA, expecting it to get rejected here, which then we'll see Apple move to the upside. Trying to see the volume, where the volume comes in. I can't get my screen. Wider, let's see here. There you go. So these blue bars, this is volume at a certain price level versus for the candle itself. So again, we still have support. Apple is still above the VWAP. We want it to stay above the VWAP because that means it's still bullish. And we definitely want to stay above this point of control and this algorithmic support level here. Ideally, we want it above the 5-day EMA. So looking at the options chain, people are selling out of their calls. Both, it's sort of mixed. So someone just, I'm going to say, sold 211 160 calls near the bid at 1010.43. So just a minute ago. Actually, it could be that that's buying instead of selling. Looking at this chart, it does look like it might be buying. So here, let's look at the VIX. All right, so the VIX is getting rejected here on the 5-day EMA, which is what we want. The volatility is somewhat of a challenge. This is a critical support level. We want this to hold. The VIX has broken through now to the upside. So I'm going to go back to a different chart, get a different view. I'm going to use all of my EMAs. I know that we're below the VWAP. So we're below the 200. We're below all of the EMAs, and this is the only remaining level of support. But we know this is where the point of control is also. So we know there's strong support here at 157. All right, so we're getting another spinning top. So this is a downward move, and we see this upward move here. This is a shooting star. So that signaled that we were going to reverse. And now we've had this move to the downside. We're looking for a similar signal that we're going to turn back to the upside. We have less than a minute on this candle. So now the calls are above the ask. Someone just bought the May 13 160 calls. They bought 105 of them. Above the asking price. So there's good volume. If it's above the ask, then that's a purchase, that wouldn't be a sell. Again, checking out the VIX. All right, so that move to the upside didn't hold. Let's look at SPY. SPY is having trouble here. OXY. OXY would have been a good trade off the open. NEO. NEO is bouncing off of, this is what we want to see. We want to see stocks that are bouncing off their opening high. So NEO is bouncing off the opening high, which is where the 5-day EMA is as well. Disney. Disney's not quite ready for prime time. And then Apple. All right, I don't like the weakness that I'm seeing. And even though I really want to trade to the upside. The volatility is making it really hard. So there are lots of sellers currently. So this signals reversal, the spinning top. So I've got this ATR trailing stop down here, which gives me some confidence that we're not going to be below the opening low. But I know that this is my point of control, or at least it's close to here. So this is where the most volume has occurred. So I want to make sure this remains buying volume, not selling volume. So we want to stay above this if we can to stay in this trade. Let's see what we're doing on a 30-minute chart for Apple. So Apple looks like it's going to be bearish, unfortunately, unless something happens here soon, because this is a move up here. This was where the ATR trailing stop was. We've got the 5-day coming down about to cross the 50 to the downside. So this may be a trade that we are not going to be able to make work, but we're going to be patient because, again, what was stated earlier was market makers and institutions really are trying to shake people out of their trades to the upside. So given what's happening, it's quite possible we'd sell out of this trade and then Apple just takes off to the upside. And then we try to chase it. I wouldn't, but many traders would, because they would have felt they missed an opportunity and then emotions kick in. It's like, oh no, I was too soon or whatever. I'm going to buy back in, and then you chase it and you end up, of course, at some point with that behavior blowing up your account. So we're looking at this spinning top, and we have just about 1 minute left on this close. So if this closes as a hammer, then that would be a good sign. A hammer would be the body, would have to be, the wick would have to be twice as long as the body. I got about 30 seconds on this. So we are above the point of control. So that's a good sign. This is, again, where most of the volume has occurred. So that appears to be holding, and it appears to be buying volume versus selling volume. This is not unexpected behavior, this move, because this ended up being a shooting star. So now we see a spinning top, which signals reversal. Now we see a hammer, which signals reversal. And now we're just looking for the reversal to happen. So just because we saw these doesn't mean it's going to be immediate, but we know that a reversal is coming back to the upside. So that should be enough to keep us in the trade with some degree of confidence. We noticed that volume declined on the downward move as well. So most of the volume has been buying volume so far, and the selling volume declined. So let's kind of keep our eye on this. So we started out with an account that had $500 in it, and we grew that account to I think it was $621.13 thereabouts over the past few days. Our aim is to make 10% gain per day on our account on average every 7.2 days. So that means we should be close to doubling our account by Friday of this week. So I think we started last Thursday. So close of market Friday, we should be close to doubling our account. But the key here is to protect our capital at all costs. So we don't want to trade more than 20% of our account at any one time because it's a small account. And as the account grows, that percentage becomes less. And we want to exit quickly based on the chart if this move that we have made is going to go against us. So I have stayed in this trade quite a while because right now it's down. And I've given up quite a bit of my capital to this trade, but I'm going to stay in it because the chart tells me to stay in it. I would not advise that for inexperienced traders necessarily. So you would have bought, if you were just starting to trade, I would not suggest that you would even add to your position. You stay in the one position and learn as that particular trade plays out. So I'm adding because my attempt is to grow my account as quickly as I can. So I'll take a few more risks, but I'll let you know when I'm taking those risks because I am, again, watching the charts. I'm very knowledgeable about candle patterns and et cetera, and I'm willing to take a little bit more risk because of it. But this is not the kind of move that I expected from Apple, and I would have thought that Apple would have continued to have some strength to the upside, but it looks like it's going to be consolidating here. So we'll just kind of wait and see what happens. But this has been a long time to be in this trade with it going sideways. So OXY, Apple, Disney, Neo, and again, you just see the volatility. And SPY and VIX. So the VIX is declining. I think that's apparent, albeit a bit slowly. So let's look at the VIX on a daily chart. Again, that 5-day EMA is just holding the VIX right there. But if we look at a 30-minute, so this, everything tells me again that our trade decision is correct. Because you've got this downward move on the VIX. And no matter whether this is green or red, this is going to be a hammer, most likely. I'm sorry, not a hammer, a doji, most likely, or a spinning top, which is going to signal, in most cases, continuation. So we're expecting the VIX to continue to decline. And as the VIX declines, then we're looking at SPY moving up to the upside. And we've got this move to the upside and these spinning tops, which we believe will continue, which will indicate continuation. And then Apple to the upside, which is holding on this critical support level at 157.37. So again, thinking here that Apple is being accumulated versus being sold. So we saw this consolidation here right along the point of control just above it. And again, we've got spinning top, hammer, spinning top, and looks like now it may be ready to break out of this consolidation. and move back to the upside. So we're expecting once it moves back to the upside and breaks through the opening high, then it should trend to the upside. And this could very well be our only trade for the day, but we're just going to keep an eye out here and see what happens. So again, this is a key level, and this algorithmic support resistance level is one that you would draw yourself on your chart. This is not going to be found on any trading platform. And if you're with us on Sunday or a couple of Sundays ago, then you know that you do that by correlating 2 or more wicks on a monthly candle. And that's true for each stock. The idea is that this is when or where machines tend to kick in and start buying or selling, depending upon what's happening with the stock and a bunch of other things, but we use it to determine support and resistance. We see Apple hit here, here, here. Finally, it broke through, came back, found support. So now we need Apple to move above the 5-day EMA, above the 20, to close above the 5, and then to start move to the upside. Volume is still declining. It looks like volume is growing because we have 2 minutes left, and this candle appears it's going to surpass this one. So the volume is to the upside because, again, on the downward move, the volume was declining. On the upward move, the volume appears to be increasing. And let's take a look at VIX. All right, so good. The VIX is falling. SPY is moving up. Apple and SPY are correlated. Disney. This is where I would look to buy Disney to the upside. Got this long candle. You've got this doji spinning top, again, signaling reversal. Disney is now above the 5-day EMA and bouncing off of the opening low. So I would be buying calls on Disney here to the upside. NEO, of course, is a nice upside trade. And I sent a message to someone the other day saying that trade NEO, buy it on the close of the market yesterday because I anticipated it was going to make a move to the upside today. And it is. So I think at the time that I suggested that, NEO was right around here, like everything else. And of course, buying on the close before the market closed yesterday, it'd be a nice gain. They would try to shake you out here with this candle, but if you had confidence in the trade, then this would be a good move. So this spinning top here on the 1 hour, even though it's red, says continuation to me. There is resistance here at 1785. Now look at Apple, and let's see what Apple is doing. Are we good on our trade? All right, so good. Apple's looking pretty solid to the upside. Look at the volume here. So now the volume, which was declining, looked like it's starting to grow again. On the downside, if this is a green candle, looks like we'll have buyers come in, but there's still pressure to the upside. So any questions about this trade? It's 10:30, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions about this or any other thing that is going on with the market today from a technical perspective.
Hey, Richard, yeah, that's a great trade. Would you rather or not buy the 160 versus 165? Simply because the ATR.
Well, I thought about that. The problem was again, so the 160 call on Apple. Well, yeah, that would have been affordable. That would have been affordable. Yeah, and you're right because of the ATR. So I was trying to preserve
Yeah, I
my
see.
capital for multiple trades today. And if
Yeah, I
Apple
mean, if it
works,
goes up, you've got a better idea, but
but
you know, from
if Apple, so that if the Apple trade works out the way I expect, which I think it will, then my 165 calls will double in price
right,
before the 160s will.
exactly. Okay.
So they'll double in price. And if, when that happens, then I have the opportunity then to make more of a percentage on my small investment. So I'm aiming for percentage versus dollar gains because the 160 was, I don't know what they were when you bought it. Did you buy the 160 or 165?
Both
Okay, so what did you pay for the 160?
171.
Yeah, so
No,
see
I'm sorry.
again,
164, 164.
yeah, so 164, that would be rather rich for my $500 account or $600 account.
Oh, I see. Okay.
How many
Ordinarily,
did you get, David?
Pardon me?
How many contracts did you get?
10 of the 160s and 10 of the 100s. No,
Oh,
10
okay.
of the 160s and 10 of the 165.
Oh, okay. I'm not there yet. I thought I asked.
No,
Thanks.
it's all about percentage. I'm already up
Yeah.
like 18% on the 160s that I bought
Yeah.
like 5 minutes ago.
yeah, no question about that. I mean, so, but again, the aim for me here is in trying to help folk understand that they can grow a $500 account, right? I mean, if I was trading my regular account, which you're absolutely right, David, by either in the money or close to the money, but I can't afford that with a small account.
And you get a lot more bang for the buck, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is true. So my 165 calls will double, and your 160 calls, maybe you'll get 40, 50, 60% gain.
Right.
So right
Okay.
now, looks like Apple is again back through its. So the one advantage that David has with buying, the 160 or even buying in the money is you reduce the time value. Whereas buying out the money, there's very little intrinsic value in the options premium, and it's pretty much all time. You're paying for time. So as the stock goes sideways, if you're buying time value, then your losses are going to be, I should say, you're going to be impacted more. But if you buy and it simply moves up, your gains are going to be more. So I think there are different strategies. And if you have the funds, then yeah, buying just outside the money or in the money or at the money, that's a good strategy. But our goal here is to show folk that, okay, you can start with a $500 account. And if you make some really good decisions, and if you're really disciplined, which is really the key is discipline, then you can grow a $500 account into $500,000 in 4 months. I mean, it seems like an impossible task. It's doable by the numbers, but we know that practically If we can grow that account to 100,000, we'd be jumping for joy. So all we have to do is focus on trying to gain, again, 10% in our total account each day. So if I bought the 165, and if that hits 100% gain, then I will have met my target for the day with only investing $54 of my $613.
Now, I love the fact that you watch the VIX, you watch the SPY. This supports what you're doing. That's very important.
Yeah, it is important. I mean, you have to, because we're not trading in isolation. I mean, it'd be great if we could just trade a stock and not really worry about what the market's doing. But in addition, we have to know what direction the market is heading if you're trading in a given direction. And you want to know what other stocks are doing as well, similar. So the SPY gives you some indication. We know that Apple is correlated to the SPY. And we know that the VIX trades opposite SPY. And the VIX typically signals market behavior. It's the volatility index. It signals fear in the market. So when risk is off, the VIX is falling. When risk is on, the VIX is climbing. And that just simply says people are less likely to be buying, and they're likely to be selling when risk is off. So yeah, the VIX is a critical component of our trading strategy. And volume is really key. So volume and price is really what we are using. And we see here, look at the volume. So look at this. If you look at these candles on this declining volume, the stock price is moving down. When the stock price started moving up, the volume increased. So this tells us, based on this behavior, that Apple is being bought, not being sold. And we know that the ATR, I'm sorry, not the ATR trailing stop, but the volume profile, point of control, was just below this 157.37. So before we close, let's go back and take a look and see where it is now on Apple. And, you know, many traders would be tempted to be buying other positions before getting out of this. And that is a disaster waiting to happen. So the volume point of control is still here at this level. So this is where the most volume has occurred, this white line here, which is the volume point of control. That says that there is really strong support here, because this is where all the volume has occurred, the most transactions. So traders think or believe that a fair price for Apple is 157.33. And it's above the VWAP now. We're moving back above the 5-day. We need to get above this opening high. And then we believe we're going to start seeing Apple make its move to the upside. Any other questions, thoughts about where we are?
None for me,
Worst
Richard.
case, yeah, worst case scenario, I stay in this one trade all day, but that's not likely to happen. I am going to be looking for an exit, but I'm going to try and give it an opportunity to, again, give me what I need. I'm going to be looking at other things also, other stocks, looking for other opportunities. But looking at Apple on a 30-minute chart, I'm not sure what's happening here. It's consolidating. but I don't like the fact that it hasn't been able to get above the 5-day EMA on the 30-minute, because this signals a move to the downside. And I am expecting the market to move up initially, and then by the afternoon to be moving down. So I may have to just look for an exit here in Apple where I can at least be in profit or close to profitable if it doesn't give me a better signal. Because there's considerable fear in the market, and we see this now with the VIX. So going back to this daily chart on the VIX, it's below the 5-day, which is good, but we need the VIX to fall, and it needs to fall hard. So just going to keep an eye on both of these, but I'm not going to do anything with Apple until, based on what I'm seeing here, it's going to be a while. So we're already at 10:42, so the market's been open a little over an hour, and we haven't, and we've sort of been stuck in this range. But again, that's the volatility of the market.
Richard, May is traveling. Do you mind joining me in her room for a couple of minutes?
No, I will.
Okay.
And I'll try not to talk about day trading. So
No,
I
just
know
keep
that, but yeah, I'll join you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so I will send out a little message later on today to let you guys know what I think is happening with the market overall. And again, I'm going to be watching Apple here, and so far it's not looking good for the home team, but I'm comfortable with where I am. So I'm going to stay in this for a while, because I do believe that we're going to move to the upside today. It just may take a bit. And what's interesting is I would ordinarily say this is bearish. I would have bought when Apple got rejected at the 5-day EMA. So I'm going to have to reconsider my position, but I haven't invested a whole lot today. But I am down, and I don't like the fact that I'm down. So I'm going to see if I can't recover, but if not, I won't be afraid to get out of my positions. And if I get out of my positions here, then I will be looking to trade to the downside. So I hope you guys have a prosperous trading day, and I will catch up with you soon.